Chapter 68 The God Letters. Karasor. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Maybe it was Devangari that began it. This sacred character, used rightly for Sanskrit alone, is supposed, so Alan Bennett told me, to be constructed on, can one call them ideographic principles? The upright line is the soft palate, the horizontal the hard, and the line between them shows the position of the tongue when one pronounces the letter. He demonstrated this most elegantly for the letter T, but I was never able to follow this up with most of the other 55, isn't it, letters. However, it did start me thinking, why? About the possibility of a direct relation between the sound of a letter and its meaning in some primitive manner of speech. So I used to alarm my fellow citizens, usually passengers on a liner, by spending most of my time repeating some unhappy letter over and over while I looked into my mind to see if the sound suggested any particular idea. It was rather fun, but it was most certainly one of the most delicate, subtle, and difficult experiments that I have ever undertaken. Bound to flop, obviously, from the word gun, if only because the same sounding word in different languages, sometimes even in the same, has often not merely diverse, but diametrically opposed meanings. Think of bog or bug, the Russian word for God. I do think bogey comes from this, though. Think of the dam of a stream and of a young thing, and dam. Think of all the different kinds of box and cock and rock. G.K. Chesterton must have made tens of thousands of pounds out of it. Think of let, meaning both to prevent and to allow. Think of check to a chess player, a banker, a draper, a waitress, a fox hunter, and a Slovak. The importance of all this, I'm sure I've told you how Thoth, god of all magic, the wisdom in the word, is usually shown with style and papyrus, as inventor of writing, which is the real magical art. Hence, grimoire is nothing but grammar. To cast a spell explains itself. And the angel, example of a church, see Revelations 1 and 2, was merely the secretary. I wanted to go right back, before letters were put together to make words at all. This is, I believe, almost wholly original work, though I'm not sure that Faber de Lavet didn't skate around the edges. I put to myself this question. When I pronounce the letter so and so, what thought or class of thought tends to arise in my mind? If you practice this in public, people may wonder. With the vowels, one does seem to find a natural correspondence. I wrote a ballad, The Blind Prophet, on these lines, long before it struck me to investigate on scientific lines. The Hindus knew this with their Om. A is the open breath, O the controlled force, M no breath at all. See Magick, pages 45 through 49. To me, I is a shrill feminine sound, as O is the roar of the male. U is pursed, E hardly significant. As to magic, the Gnostics were chile con carne, plus molten platinum, plus a few girls I have known on the vowels. Their incantations consist almost entirely of combinations of these. 7 at a time is very frequent. In fact, it seems sometimes as if their theurgy depends on variations of these combinations. Their theology, too. Never mind that just now. But the consonants? That is a harder nut to crack. Students of language have been accustomed to group the consonants exactly as we now happen to require. Here in the brief is the list: dentals, labials, and gutturals. Various modifications extend them to 59, and there are 27 vowels. I shall naturally concern myself only with those that matter to the subject. In practice, the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet will serve for this preliminary study, especially as in that case we have already the attributions. I will begin by classing them. Gutturals. 1. G. Luna. 2. CH. Cancer. House of Luna. Jupiter here exalted. 3. K, Jupiter. 4. Q, Pisces, house of Jupiter. O.T.O, 17, the moon. You will note that either Jupiter or Luna occurs in every case, in 2 doubly. Gutter, moreover, is the Latin word for throat. Both planets emphasize the soft, open, expansive aspects of nature. They both refer accordingly to the feminine throat, the tube either of present or of future life. Jupiter, when in Sagittarius, has an aggressive, masterful male side, but his letter there is Samic. Now pronounce these letters. Observe the motions of opening and expulsion of the breath. Well, then, you will no longer wonder at that list we had in another letter of the words quim, comb, quain, queen, and so on. Also, quill, queer, quaintus, curious, quick, quince, especially with the U vowel, which sounds prehensile, ready to suck. Cuprous or Coyoto, the Greek or Syrian Aphrodite Venus, is the outstanding example in theogony. But you ask, what has all this to do with the gods? Patience, child, this will develop as we proceed. Let us look at the dentals. These, for the profane scholar, include the sibilants and liquids. Dentals. 1. D. Venus. 2. Z. Gemini, house of Mercury. 3. T. Leo, house of Soul. 4. L. Libra, house of Venus, Saturn here exalted. 5. M. Water. 6. N. Scorpio, house of Mars. 7. S. Sagittarius, house of Jupiter. 8. R. Soul. 9. SH. Fire. 10. TH. Saturn and Earth. Here we see at one glance there is no such simple, obvious relationship as in the previous list, nor indeed is there, to my ear, any close connection in the sounds. Better luck, perhaps, with the last lot. Labials. 1. B. Mercury. 2. V or F. Val, Taurus, house of Venus, Luna exalted therein. 3. P. Mars. Not a bit of it, almost worse than before. Here then I say it, weeping with agonized reluctance, the holy Qabalah has let us down with a bump. It did look, too, didn't it, as if it was all going to go so miraculously well. All is not lost, not even honor. Suppose you reflect that, after all, Hebrew is a late language, invented far, far removed from the primitive grunts and groans, with their corresponding motions, that we set out to study. Let us take the high hand and say that the guttural correspondence doesn't rhyme with anything, that it is just an amazing piece of sheer luck. With all due caution, therefore, let us attack our puzzle from the other end. Let us see what astral experiment tells us about the philology of it. Good. We call it D-Day and drop our paratroopers. D is a sharp, sudden, forceful, explosive sound, cut off smartly. Now then, I can't tell whether you will connect this with ejaculation, with the idea of paternity. Whether or no, a vast number of people did so in the dawn of speech. Even today, children seem instinctively to say dad for father, though no allowance can be made for cases of mistaken identity. And the most ancient father gods of the oldest and simplest civilizations are thus named. In Sumer, he was Ad, or Ad, whence the later Egyptian Hadit and the Semitic Adonai. There are also words like Avid, the creative magic. So also the Greeks in Syria knew Adonis, and the Latin deus is itself the general word for God. Again, Valhalla houses Odin, Woden, and there are others. When the dental is complicated to a sibilant, as we shall see later, another idea is introduced, while the lightening of the sound to T has yet another effect. Sanskrit also helps us with such roots as death to show, dam to tame, devik to lead, Dehe to knead, mold, der to support, do to give, de to put, and a whole group of words like deva, a divine being. But that comes later. Meanwhile, practice pronouncing these names, as also English words such as do, deed, dare, drive, doubt, dig, dog, dive, duck, dub, while exploring the abyss of your mind, and see whether you do not soon associate the D sound with a swift, hard, definite, fertile, and completed act. For a fair test, take only the oldest and simplest words, words which might naturally be wanted in the Stone Age. The next sound group to be considered may conveniently be in. Here at once we have innumerable gods and goddesses flocking up. Nu, Nuit, Anu, Noah, John, Owens, On, Jonah, with the exception of On, a special case. All these divine or semi divine beings refer to the night, the starry heavens, the element of water, the north, the mother goddess, as appears when we consider their legends and rituals. In, Nun, means a fish and refers to the watery sign of Scorpio. To me, the sound gives the idea of a continuum, an eternal movement. And this is, of course, our Thelemic conception of the universe, the star sponge, of which I have elsewhere written at such length. But at the moment, I am especially desirous that you should compare and contrast this letter with the S sound. S or SH combined with T is discussed rather fully in Magick, pages 336 through 338. You should find its child's play to determine the significance of the sibilant. It is the one letter which necessitates the exposure of the skeleton. Example, the subconscious. Hence, hush, it is the hiss of the snake. Great lord of life and death. Life? Yes, the spermatozoon, child. Silence, danger. There is a man somewhere about. The savage reaction. And sure enough, Ish is the Hebrew for man. Mankind is Adam, Sanskrit Admi, the father and mother conjoined. Male and female created the man. The S gods are innumerable. Asar, Asi, Isis is his female twin. Astarte, Ishtar, or Ashtoreth, Set, Saturn, Shu, Zeus, into whom the D intrudes, because S is the male as in the female, and D the father as M the mother, and the Jesus group. Here's the idea of the South or East, both quarters referring, in ways very slightly divergent, to the element of fire, the sun, the Father God and his aspect as the Holy Ghost. The ancient tradition appears in the Gospels, the lesser mysteries of John, beheaded with the sword, and consumed on a disk, and the greater mysteries of Jesus, pierced with a wand and consumed in a cup. All the same tarot. I am not at all sure how far it is wise to take this letter. To make it complete, we should need a book about 3 times the size of the Book of Thoth, and I should want another half century of research before I started to write it. As this seems for divers reasons a little awkward in practice, I am rather afraid that we must content ourselves with this very sketchy account. Always, when one touches the subject, one goes all woolly. One lacks not only completeness, but precision. Then there is the overlapping nuance, and the fact that the natures and the names of the gods change slowly as time goes by. The confusion, the contradictions. I could wish to be the proverbial Bargy. Oh, I could go on making excuses for another hour. It can't be helped, and I feel that I shall have rendered you quite a bit of service by calling your attention to the existence of the subject, by stimulating you to research, by suggesting certain potential lines on which to attack the same, and perhaps even by giving you a few tips which you may find useful in practical magic. The subject is closely bound up with mantra yoga and with invocation. You will doubtless have noticed, for instance, that many chapters of the Quran have the letter L for a lit motif. Islam attaches immense importance to this liquid L as it appears in Allah. Compare the Hebrew L gods, Al, Olah, Elohim, Elion, etc., and look up the L idea in your book of Thoth and in Magick, pages 331, and other sacred names and words. Before cursing my way to dinner, oh, how I hate the need of food unless I am practicing the ninth art and disguise myself as a gourmet, I must mention the letter M. This is the only letter that can be pronounced with the lips firmly closed. It is the beginning of speech, and so the mother of the alphabet, distinguished from N, the letter of the female. Look up Magick again, chapter 7, pages 45 through 49, gives a good account of M in discussing Note too the root mu, to be silent, from which we have the words mystic, mystery, and others. As the letter of the mother, it appears to this day in nature everywhere. The first call the child to mama. In nearly every language, the word for mother is based on M, madar, mir, mutter, ama, or aima, and the rest. The vibrant R suggests light rays, Ra, the sun. The labials bring to mind the curves in nature, and you will soon discover the words with a few little experiments. The T is a D, only lighter, quicker, and younger. And so, good night. Love is the law. Love under will. Fraternally.